now.
It's a new feature.
Like the race beeps.
It is, isn't it? It is. Yeah, the heart rate goes up like now. You're like, oh, okay. People on the internet are actually listening. It's weird. All right, let me do your official introduction. Again, I always make a bit of a joke on these things that we've been going back and forth for ages trying to sort this out. But again, we legitimately have been going back and forth for a while. But a really interesting story, I guess, as to how you've ended up coming on the podcast, which is that I got injured. I put out the bat signal to see if anyone had any recommendations for insurance people. I don't know what you call it, insurance companies and whatever. And your name came up so much. It was insane. And I think that's a testament for the service that you do, for what you've done for other mountain bikers. So, yeah, massive congratulations on that, because I think that's a very sort of valid use case of what you do, that it is working and that people will give you props and recommend you. So yeah, you jumped on, helped out with an episode of The Ride Companion, and then I was like, actually, I just want to sit and talk to you and see what comes up. So, welcome officially to the Hook It podcast. You're welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. And it's been a while since I've done one of these regular ones, so I might be a little bit rusty. Usually I got my southern co-host hanging out, but he's not here today, so yeah.
I'm not Ollie.
No, definitely not.
Not as good.
Definitely not. No, he's a rare human. So yeah, it's been a while since I've done one of these. I'm kind of excited actually to do it, because again, it's the stuff with Ollie it's very different to doing this sort of style podcast. I mean, this is basically how this thing grew. Was I would say, dare say, this is how it got started. Just talking to people, getting stories, and industry folk, everyone and anyone. And obviously, my podcast's taken a bit of a turn over the last few years because of lockdown, and doing stuff with Ollie. It's, dare say, it's quite easy because we don't really ever have a structure, or we just hit record. So when you're doing like actual, guests, it's almost like going back in time now. It's like, right, we used to actually do preparation, and you'd be like, right, trying to find notes and little storylines to go down and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of crazy doing one of these again. But thank you to everyone out there who's listening already. I appreciate you sticking by the podcast throughout these crazy times. And I'm stoked to sort of learn a little bit more about you and what you do as well. I think I was going to kick it off actually by saying you sort of came up in that era of not much social media, if any, no social media really, let's be brutally honest. So like finding out information is really difficult, and I think that's actually quite cool in a way, because it's not like you can just go back through all of these articles and interviews and social media posts and like figure out some stuff to talk about. So I think it's cool when you do this, that we're literally just like, right, let's just see what happens. It's really nice. And it's funny, I actually met a friend of mine, Neil, this morning, who works for Focus, and I was like, I'm going home and going to do an episode with Helen Gaskell, and he was like, wow, I bet she's got some amazing stories. And I was like, I think she will have, dude, but I don't know.
I hope so.
So no pressure.
I'll have to remember. Yeah. I've been around quite a long time.
Yeah, so if you could just do like a really brief like overview of your career, and then to be honest, I really want to go back and like start at the beginning of how you got into mountain biking, but just for people to like hook them in a little bit, like what's a brief overview of your career, like where you started and stuff like that.
So basically I think I did my first mountain bike race when I was 8, and I'm 38 now, so 30 years ago.
Wow.
I think I started riding and racing. Just little races as a kid. Got to age 15 and somehow I was doing junior world champs in Sweden, and then kept going and did World Cups for like Dymo World Cups for 10 years full time. And I'm still riding now, still racing, not as much, but 30 years on, I'm still here and talking about bikes and still buzzing.
Amazing. And there was a bit of a break in the middle for a little while, is that correct?
Yeah, probably like maybe early 30s. I kind of stopped riding a lot and didn't race because I got an injury, real bad back injury, so I kind of took a bit of time out, but I came back and I'm back stronger than ever now, which I'm buzzing about.
Amazing. So take me right back then. Let's start at the beginning, because I think that's super interesting as to how you get involved in mountain biking at such a young age. So where did you grow up, first up?
So I grew up in like in a town called Burnley, which people might know of. Yeah, and we lived in front of a park, and all the boys and stuff used to play out on the bikes, and I could see them out the window, and I was like, oh, Dad, I want to go and play on my bike with these. So basically, you just go in the park and do on a BMX and just razz around the park doing wheelies and practicing with all the boys, and that's how I got into riding.
Right.
And I had a little friend. He was into riding as well. And my dad was good friends with him, and he was like, "Oh, we're going to go to a race just locally, like nothing exciting. I think we were in like Sprogs or Pee-wees. That's what they called it back then." So I was like, "I want to go." So I went with them, and did that race. I don't know what I come. Not very good, but I was super hooked straight away. And then after that, I told Mum and Dad, and they were like, "Okay, we'll get you a bike." And then they started helping me and taking me to little races.
What sort of race was it then? A BMX race?
So nah, it wasn't BMX. It was like cross country really, or cyclocross maybe, like horrendous, like in a field, just razzing around in the mud. Living in the north, it's like always muddy. So yeah, I was just doing that. I remember it quite well. Just in like bit of lycra, hardtail.
They geared you up then for it, right?
Yeah. I was. That's definitely how it all started.
Right. What about your parents then? Are they outdoorsy, mountain bikers, or anything like that, or is it?
They're quite outdoorsy. My dad definitely wasn't like a mountain biker. He just did it a little bit. But no, I think it was just they definitely helped me. Like they took me to all the races and took me everywhere to help me get where I was.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just literally like playing out on the park with the boys and copying them. I think that's what it was,
Really?
honestly.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It definitely reminds me of my sort of childhood as well. So I grew up, like in the middle of where I grew up, there was this, we called it the green. It was just basically like a triangle of grass. And so many people tried new stuff there. Do you know, like, I was obviously into mountain biking or riding or whatever you call it back then. So a bunch of, similar to you, like my friends, they got into it and then they'd start coming to the dirt jumps a little bit and stuff like that. And then we used to play football on there and played roller hockey and like all these kids just trying all these new sports that like one person gets into it and then the rest of the kids are like, yeah, I'm going to do that as well. So it's funny because we were talking about that a little bit on a ride companion recently about how you actually first discover hobbies. And our era, that's what it is. Like someone on the road, a kid on the road's like, oh, I've got some rollerblades, and you're like, oh, actually, I could do some rollerblades. It's basically how it starts, isn't it? It's crazy. Yeah. I guess kids now it's probably totally different. I dare say that you know, seeing it online or seeing it on social media or
different. So different now, isn't it?
And it's weird that
my little nephew.
Sorry.
Yeah, he's social media. Yeah, so he was like, we took him to a race last weekend, and he just wanted to go and see Matt Jones and get like a selfie with him because he just loves YouTube and just buzzed up, and he was so excited. Yeah, so different.
It is. It's totally different when you think about it like that, and like, yeah, I mean, it just, if you didn't see those people riding that bike on your street, you maybe wouldn't be in this position now. Which is, I know, obviously you have to go through that. You have to have those little life moments. You have to see things and whatever. But it does make you really think, like, fuck, like if that one person wasn't on my street with that bike, my life would be a totally different route. Like you
can't imagine.
No. What were you into when you were like 8? Was it like, what were you into?
Bike, playing out. Just like literally, it was just playing out, and even that playing with playing a little bit of football, a bit of tennis, and just all the little things. Quite sporty, really.
Yeah.
But bikes definitely. I remember taking my stabilisers off for the first time.
Oh, you got an amazing memory.
Probably, that no, I haven't. But that is one thing I remember, and I can remember being so burdened. Like I was like, "Dad, watch me," and he was like, "Yes."
Sick. So cool. I don't remember any of that from my childhood. I really, really don't have a good memory at all. I need to like actually go back and try and. I'd have to really think about it, to try and get anything to come up. I'm just about to go shoot a sort of bit of a video actually, which is all about my childhood and growing up and how I got into riding a little bit. And honestly, I'm like, cool. Mum, like, do you remember anything? Because I really have nothing. Like, I just don't remember. I don't remember anything at all. It's crazy. So, God, yeah, I need to do a little bit more thinking about it, because it's going to be a boring video. It'll be like 30 seconds long.
I'll look forward to that.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't. It's not going to be that good, but we'll see. We shall see. So yeah, so 8 years old, you got into riding. That's insane. It's so cool. Really, really cool. You got into it at that young age, and then you like, how did you progress from there? Like, what's the sort of timeline look like?
Yeah, so I just kept going to races, and cross country was kind of the thing I was doing. I was like, this is good, because that's what it was, trail riding. Yeah. And then I started doing like the British National cross country series back then. So back then at the Nationals, you had cross country on Sunday and downhill races on the Saturday. So I could watch the downhill, and then I'd have to race on the Sunday. And I was like, Mum, this looks cool. I want to have a go at downhill, because it looked way more fun than like going uphill. So I decided to start doing both. Okay. And I thought, well, I can. So I managed to do the same thing on the same bike, hardtail, and just kept doing that then for a few years. And eventually, we lived pretty close to Hope. Oh, yeah. So, you know, Hope Brakes. They were like 20 minutes from our house, and they kind of started helping me. Okay. Started giving me some bikes and stuff and a top, and I ended up doing some British Nationals, and like there wasn't that many young girls, so I ended up just going in the elite with like Tracy Mosley and all the top girls. And I was coming like top 5, and I was like 14. I was like, oh, this is cool. Wow. And it just progressed from there. By age 15, I was like final year of school, and I was like got chosen for the British champs in Sweden in 1999, and I got the chance to go there. Wow. Didn't have a clue. Just went. I was like, this is gonna be amazing, and just and ended up getting a medal. So I got like bronze, and I was like, wow. So that was it, 100%. I just wanted to do it full time.
And that was in juniors, or did you do elite at like?
Nah, that was junior. Yeah. So it was my first year of junior. So I got a bronze medal, and then I went on and did the next 12, 13 world champs as downhill, like in junior, then into elite. So I just did that, and
so like when
it got harder.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, but when you were like racing the UK stuff, there wasn't really a girls category. Sorry, like a young girls category. So that's why you're in elite. But then when you go world, then there's one for you, sort of thing, right?
Yeah. So there was only like me and one other girl called Fionn, who's like pretty good as well. She ended up being like top 3 in the world as well. So like we were battling it out, but we would just go into elite and race against all the older girls. And I look back now and I think, wow, you just can't imagine. You just look back now and think, wow, that's mental.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It definitely is. I mean, that's incredible. What a cool story. And like, so you start getting help as well off sponsors, which is really cool. I guess you were quite a unique thing, like quite a unique person, really. You know, you're young girl coming through racing elite in the UK. So was it hard to get a sponsorship? Do you remember like what that process was like and stuff?
I never really imagined getting sponsorship. It was just like, I just felt lucky really that I kind of Hope was super, super good. They paid for me to go to Sweden and like gave me a bike and loads of cool kit, and it just progressed from there. It wasn't that hard, but like you never got huge amounts of stuff, but to get a bike even at that age was amazing, wasn't it? Like a free bike would save my dad thousands of pounds, so it was super helpful.
Yeah. And what are you from? Like not to be too invasive, but like quite a middle class family, would you say? Like, was it, because it puts a lot of pressure on families. Like you hear it time and time again on this podcast, on other podcasts, that like you get to a certain level and the families are like, well, like we don't have any money to keep supporting this. Like it's tough. And I went through that as well when I was a bit younger with moto, like racing motocross. You get to a certain point and you're like, okay, like now it's going to cost 250 grand a year. We don't really have it, so you got to make a decision. You're either going to carry on, or you're not. It's as simple as that. Like we can't keep going like this. So, what did that look like, and did you have those conversations with your parents at any time and stuff?
I didn't understand back then, but now I look back and I realise how much my parents sacrificed, because my dad was a postman. He definitely wasn't rich. Just worked super hard for what we had, and my mum, she just had a little part-time job, and my dad used to work nights to help me and pay for things, and I look back now and I owe him everything really, and he knows that I'm proper grateful. But when you're that age, I don't think I understood as much as I do now. So so I wasn't a rich motocross family or anything like that. It was just you really appreciate any little thing that I got and support.
Yeah, it's funny. It was really similar. Like for me growing up, I didn't quite understand the value of like a pound or anything like that. Really, I wouldn't say I'm by no means spoilt at all. I never had the best stuff or anything like that. But I remember I had a bike stolen once. It was in 2004. 2004, yeah, because it was the Honda just released a CRF 250. It was the first batch came into the UK, and I got one. And my dad must have like busted his balls to buy me this bike. He really did. And again, I'm not from that sort of a wealthy background at all. Had it about 3 weeks, and it got stolen. And I remember just being like, well, let's go get a new one then. And he was like, no, it's not going to happen like that. Like, it doesn't happen. Where do you think this money comes from? And just not understanding it. And then I went, I had a job, but not really. It was more like spending money for me. Like, I didn't really save or anything like that. And yeah, I bust my balls to help him we sort of went halves on the next bike and stuff. And it does make you realise when you look back, how much your parents are grafting for you to put in money for you to go do your hobbies and stuff, especially expensive ones like mountain biking or.
Yeah.
I bet he was thinking, I wish you chose football, to be honest with you. It's a lot cheaper. I just need a pair of boots and a ball.
Definitely. Yeah, I owe him a lot.
Yeah, it's really cool. Really cool. So it's nice, though, that Hope saw that. And I guess they were at the races and they'd see you ride. And then is that how those conversations started? They would just ask if they could help you a little bit?
Yeah. There was they used to have the Hope van there, and there was a guy who used to kind of fix all the brakes and do all the stuff, and I think he kind of like took me under his wing a little bit, and must have gone and told Hope. So I went to the Hope offices and had a little meeting and sat down with them and my dad, and it just all spiraled from there. So I had a good few years with them.
Really?
And I can't thank them enough. And they're still going now and supporting people, aren't they? But back then they were tiny compared to what they had a little factory, compared to now it's huge. So yeah, that was mega.
That must have been a nice little weight off your dad's back a little bit though, when they can step in and help pay for stuff. It's such a again, like looking back at that and the way that marketing used to work like that and stuff, that it was very, very different to what it is now. They were doing that probably with not a great deal of return. It's not like you could say, okay, I'll do you some social posts, or I'll do an email out, or whatever it is. Like they were just doing it to get potentially a magazine shot or something,
Yeah.
So really interesting how that dynamic's changed, and obviously you've watched it happen too. You've been in the industry to watch all that stuff change.
Yeah.
It's very, very different now.
Yeah.
Very, very different for sure.
Very, very. Yeah.
What was it like being a young girl and going to these races? Like, because would you say that back then, when you're 15, it's quite a male-dominated sport? Is that fair to say? Because again, I'll be very honest. Like, I wasn't into mountain biking in that era, really. I was doing my own other stuff. So I never really attended any British downhill races or anything like that, or nationals, or, any of the world stuff. So what was it like? Like, what was it like being a young girl and going to those things?
I think it definitely was male-dominated sport, but there was still some like super good elite girl riders that I looked up to, and they were doing quite well at the time with sponsorship, because there used to be the RAV4 national series. Okay. So like RAV4 would sponsor it, and it would be on TV on Channel 4, and all I wanted to do was be on the TV if I could, and like get in the highlights.
Was it on TV? Was it? I genuinely don't remember that.
It was.
Wow.
Yeah, it was on Channel 4. It was pretty big then, and then it died off again, but that was just when I was starting, so there's quite a bit of money in it. So it was like Tracy Mosley was sponsored off Corner, and there was like Helen Mortimer, Karen Van Meerbeek, and like they were all probably earning, I don't know how much, but they were all on salaries that were probably quite good for that time in the world. So didn't really bother me going there as a girl. I think I was just there, just like, it doesn't matter, I've never really been too stressed about that sort of thing. Just get on with it, and I'm not like I don't know, girls can't do this or that. You just got to get on with it.
Yeah.
Haven't you? Same for both.
Yeah. Your parents have got the same attitude
So,
when they were taking you to the races and stuff. Like they were just.
Yeah, they loved it, to be honest. They bought a caravan and we'd go for the weekend and they'd have a good time and just love it and make friends and hang out and just love watching me race and helping me, and Dad would fix my bike a bit and Mum would make my food and I just, couldn't really complain. You can't ask for better than that,
No, not at all. Again, it's so similar. Like, they're some of the best times of my life of going to the races. And my dad, same thing, bought a caravan, like, and it was as much of a social for those guys as it was for me. Like, they'd go and everyone would park together and, you just have a little bit of a festival vibe every weekend, really.
Exactly that.
Throwing money at it.
I know.
I think that was the only thing. But yeah, that's cool though. So especially, I guess, if you're a racing elite, you've got these sort of people to look up to. Tracy, all those people to look up to, and that's cool that they were, paving the way for you to come up, through the ranks as well. Almost, it seems like.
Yeah, Tracy, I looked up to her massively. She was like 5 years older than me, so not that much. But when you're 14 and she's 19, it's quite a big difference. And she took me under her wing and helped me from age 15, and she still does now. She's still riding and racing now as well. So we're still great. We're super good friends. And she took me to France and made me go and ride all these tracks, and I'd be like, oh my god, this is so hard, but it helped me progress.
Right.
yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, she's a good person for sure. She lives. She's in like Malverns now. Like that is that area. Yeah. I know a few people around there who know her and ride out with her and stuff like that. I'd love to get her on here. Actually, I bet Tracy's got some incredible stories.
Yeah.
So you progressed. At 15, you go to the world champs and stuff, which is incredible. And so when did it? Was it before then that this thing got a bit more serious, or was that maybe is there a turning point in your career when you're that young where you go, right, this is actually a thing now, like I can make a career out of this?
Yeah, so I think I finished school and then I went to college for 2 years and did a sports science degree diploma thing. Never wanted to go to university. It was just never going to happen. It wasn't for me, especially when I had the opportunity to go ride my bike. And so I think I finished college. I got a job in Sainsbury's for a few weeks.
Nice.
Make a bit of money, help my dad. And then I got an opportunity to get a full-time sponsorship, which actually would pay for me to go and race all the World Cups. I think I got a little bit of money, not a lot, but enough to be able to live at home,
like expenses covered and bikes covered and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I could pretty much just live in my eyes, that was the best thing ever. So I ended up sacking the job off at Sainsbury's, and just went racing. Probably from age 17, I started full time, and that was me really until late 20s. I did do a little bit of work on the side, like coaching and stuff, as I got older. But I would say age 17 is when it started.
Who was that first sponsorship deal with?
So you'll probably laugh, really, but it was with Halfords.
That's cool. No, I mean, they used to.
It's pretty crazy.
Invest heavy. The Halfords bike cut team was.
That is who I was basically. So they would literally pay me a little bit of money, and I was with them for quite a good few years.
Right. That used to be their go-to spot, though, right? Like before the internet, you wanted a bike. Your parents went down Halfords, didn't they? And every now and again, they'd have an actual good bike. I remember going and, again with my dad, and you'd go down Halfords to look at bikes, and I remember they used to stock GT, and you'd be like, fucking hell, they've got a Tequesta in there, and really, really, they used to be probably way more heavily invested in actual racing than they are now. I don't know what they do now, but I think they just took a bit of a backseat with that stuff. But they used to have the latest videos, DVDs. It was the spot to go to. And again, I got into BMX a little bit, dirt jumping and stuff. And they used to stock Snafu. And you'd go down, you'd look in the thing, you'd be like, oh my god, they've got new chain rings and stuff. So it was it's a different company. It feels like Halfords back then to what it is now.
Yeah, because we had a proper team, and at one point they were like, we want to make you a dyno bike that's good enough to be branded as a Carrera. So they basically spent a whole year designing one, and we went to the offices. We jumped on it and basically went off the curb, and the cranks hit the floor. So it was never ever going to work. So instead of having a Carrera, basically what I did is I had Jeff from Intense Cycles. So in America, he would send me frames, and we would just put Carrera on there, and he was quite happy for us to do that. He did that for like Muddy Fox, you know, remember the Athertons?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I come upon it, because I used to be friends with them, and they would do that, and I thought, well, that's pretty
So like
cool.
a Y-frame sort of looking bike.
Yeah, a little bit like that. Yeah,
I remember a yellow one quite vividly from a Muddy Fox like marketing campaign with Red Forks. I can't remember who was riding it, but
it'll be G, I think. Yeah, because they were on Muddy Fox at the time, and I think the bikes were just terrible as well. You know, so they did that, and I did that as well, and it worked super good because the bikes were awesome.
Yeah,
it just wasn't that cool with it being a Carrera, but literally people would be like, can I get that bike from Halfords? Like, they actually thought you could get that bike, you know, even though it was intense. So marketing works somehow.
That's incredible that they did that, isn't it, really? Like, I very much doubt that any company would do that these days. I know there's maybe some do it with tyres. There's some blackouts on tyres going on and stuff, but not with frames. I very much doubt that they do it with a frame. That's insane that they were doing that.
So different.
So cool. Yeah. So were you on the same team as the Cheethams? Were they on that team at the same time?
Yeah.
I do. I know Billy and Rich.
Johnny and Billy and the Don, you know, Donnie, Don Hugh. He was on the team, and then there was a few others, but that was the main team for like quite a few years. I even got like a brand new transporter van off him, all in bright yellow with Halfords on. Like, to get a van like that, I was buzzing. Wow. Absolutely buzzing, Great. So we were fairly invested in it.
Do you remember, how did that deal come around? Because I always find that's really interesting, especially, again, when you don't have certain things like social media where you might hit people up now or email, something like that. So do you remember how it actually happened?
I think it all came down to my results in racing and magazines and stuff. So MBUK, I used to go on MBUK trips. Right. So I think they were quite into advertising in MBUK Halfords, and one of the guys who was running the team just gave me a call, I think, or an email, or I had a chat with him, and I was like, yeah, this is like amazing. I definitely want to get involved.
So that's really cool.
Yeah, it wasn't like anything like strange, just because I was racing. I honestly think, because that's all you did racing, it would be in the magazines.
Yeah. You were fully hunting for race results at that point, right? And trying to get a photo in a mag and stuff. Do you think if they hadn't stepped up and got involved, you'd have carried on with it? Like, were you not struggling at that point, but were you getting deals offered to you or anything?
I did get another deal offered with MBUK, and at the time that was like, I was like, oh, Dad, that's so cool. I'd rather go and ride for them, but for some reason I didn't go that way, and maybe it'd have been better enough, but I would have kept going and tried until I got a deal. You know, I was like just 100% committed to doing it. Right,
cool, really cool. So you used to travel together as a team and stuff?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. I travelled a lot with the Athertons as well. But
so are they? I'm trying to put an age on stuff right now. So the Athertons, Dan and G, are they similar age as you?
So Dan's about the same age, a little bit older. G's a couple of years younger, and then Rach was like 5 years younger than me. So as I was starting, she was just like a little kid, and she was like, I don't want to ride a bike. It's shit. I just want to go in my room and watch TV. But then she slowly got into it and started riding, and it was cool to see how she just it was Dan really and the brothers that brought her into it, and I got to see it. So
that's really cool.
It was quite good.
It's really good. Do you believe in like nature or nurture from seeing that? Does that make any sense? Like, because you've got this girl who's just the younger, sort of daughter of two sister, definitely not daughter, sister of two absolute weapons on a bike, who shows no interest but then becomes world champion multiple times.
It's something was definitely like, come on, you can do this, you've got to do what we're doing. because without that, maybe she wouldn't have. Maybe she wouldn't have, to be honest. Like she definitely didn't like it at the start.
Right. It's interesting to think though, isn't it? Like, is it there? Like, was it just waiting, or is it just a lot of, having brothers to look up to is going to help, especially those two guys. Holy shit! But yeah,
it's got. I do believe a lot to do with the brothers. Yeah, especially Dan. Yeah, he definitely encouraged him, which is cool. Like look at them now. So
yeah. So what when you were riding for Halfords, the bike team then? So what you were racing World Cup downhill, and what were you? Again, I'm quite sort of naive. I'll be honest with you. Like, what were your results like? How was it going as far as a career? Like, what did it look like?
Yeah, so it started off, and it was pretty hard. I was going to my first couple of World Cups, and I was just qualifying. Like literally, I think it was like, well, back then it was top 30 women qualified because there was quite a lot more girls than there is now. So it's probably like 40 to 50 girls racing World Cups, and I was like scraping getting in the qualifying. So I was like, yes, qualified. And then get into final and I'd be like 25th, 26th, which is pretty bad. But I was new to it. Like the tracks were so much longer and so much harder. It wasn't long, maybe after a couple of years of trying and started to ride more. I went to Fort William World Cup, the first ever World Cup in Fort William. And I was on Halfords, so it was like the manager said to me, Helen, if you do well here, I'll give you £500 bonus. And I was like, wow, that is a lot of money. And somehow I had a really good relationship with Fort William, and I'd always loved the track and the crowds, and I managed to qualify second, which was unbelievable.
And before that, what were you qualifying? You were still just scraping in.
I think I was like starting to get in the early 20s or late, teens, 17. I used to get a lot of 17ths. So I managed to qualify second, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. Literally couldn't believe it. And so when my manager said, £500 bonus if you get on the podium, I was like, yes, I've done it. And then I was in the start hut, like at the top of the hill, second to last to go down, shitting myself because
totally new position to be in.
I was at the top with like Missy Jovi.
Yeah. Wow, that's an interesting story, isn't it? Missy.
She qualified first, and we're on the turbo warming up, and she's like, have a little bit of this drink. This is what I have before I go down. It'll help. And I was like, I couldn't say no, so I was like, downed it and set off, and I crashed my brains out and just came 8th, something like that. I think I came 8th. Which is an amazing result, but I definitely could have been in the top 5, and I was like, oh my god! Like,
wait, you have to unpack that. What did she give you? Like, what was that drink?
To this day, I still do not know. I have no idea. But I was buzzing, but I crashed my brains out.
That's so funny. That's hilarious. Reach out, Missy Jovi, if you ever hear this. What was that drink you were sipping?
What was it?
That's so good.
I think now maybe she was trying to psych me out or something, like, because I was just a kid,
Imagine if you set off and you just shit your pants and she just laxative you.
I couldn't say no because she was like one of my heroes. I was like, oh, yes, I'll have some more you're having.
That's amazing. What a cool story.
I know.
Wow. So 8th at that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But then Fort William was always a good one for me. Every year after that, I would do well, be on the podium. Yep. So I used to love it there.
Did he not step up with the £500 bonus then? He didn't do it?
No, he didn't give it me. It me.
True to his word.
Mean. Oh, I was devastated. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That sounds like an amazing time on that team there again, travelling around with those guys and just being part of that, era of downhill. Really, in my opinion, looking back, like that's when it was really starting to grow. You got like the PT era and, Nico and all those guys absolutely, killing it at that time. Yeah. So was it like, this is something that it's kind of difficult to ask, but like, there's no social media or anything like that. No one's like having to document your travels. Like, was it a bit more free? Like, how do you really put it? I don't really know. Like, was it a bit more sort of like well, you've not got people constantly watching your every move if you do post like that on social media, but like everyone could just get on with having more of a good time without the fear of people documenting stuff that you don't know is documenting stuff. Like, what was it? It must have been totally different to be at a race back then to what it is right now.
It's so different, like so different. I can't even believe that it was like that, to be honest, when you look back. But you would look forward to the magazine going on the shelf and just flicking through the magazine and seeing if you had a picture in there. That's what you would live. I would live for, like, that. Am I going to be in the magazine? So yeah, I didn't really train either. Like, compared to like people now, like, so
it's interesting. That's one thing I really wanted to ask you, is like how your training developed from being, you know, a young 8-year-old girl getting into the sport up to racing World Cup.
Yeah, so I didn't really train. I literally just used to ride my bike, and I'd go to the skate park and ride a BMX, and I'd ride a motorbike, and my shoulders would dislocate because I'd have not enough strength in them, you know, and like I didn't train. And like I look back now and think, if I could do what I do now and understand what actually helps, how much better could I have been as well, you know? But
again, that's that early sort of development of a sport, isn't it? People just think, oh, you just spend more time on the bike, and you know, you can look at certain athletes come in and they just change the game. Like, I think someone like Sam Hill came in working his ass off behind the scenes and just changed the game, like, totally. Same with the moto stuff. You know, you had back then, it was like Ricky Carmichael is a different human to what the other guys were, and how they were acting and what they were doing in the week. Yeah, they were riding a lot, but they weren't like training for that specific sport. They were just spending a lot of time on bikes. It was just bike time. And again, like going back to what I used to do, like it was always, oh, you don't have to do that. Like, just ride more, just keep riding. But there's, like you're saying, there's a lot more to it now, especially as the things have progressed and people understand things a lot more. So So were other athletes training hard, do you think, like Missy? I mean,
I think so. Right. I actually probably think they were, but you would never know because you wouldn't.
Yeah, you had no access.
Know. There's no social media, would you? Like, there's no Instagram posts or stories of someone in a gym doing some crazy moves. So maybe it let me down. Maybe people were training a little bit, but I still believe to this day now, if you can ride a bike, especially as a girl, if you can ride a bike quite good and quite confidently, you'll still do better than spending all your days in the gym. If you can actually ride a bike and be confident, you know? That makes sense?
Yeah.
And then gym on top of that and all the other things just makes it even better from getting injured and stuff.
I feel like the gym is something you introduce once you've got those basics down and you are fast and quite confident on a bike anyway. It's then like, how do you progress that? It's gym stuff, isn't it? It's being stronger and fitter and
stronger. And, yeah.
Interesting. So, wow. So, okay. So you're riding for bike up. So we're doing a full thing of your career here, aren't we? It's quite. What was the next deal you got after bike up then? And what was? Oh, and also, like, what was your best result on the Halfords bike up team?
So I think I got third in a World Cup, and then top 3 overall in the World Cup series in one of the years. So I never managed to win a World Cup, which was always really frustrating. You're like, but third, and then third overall in the series in the World Cup. So that was a pretty good year. I was like 2005, 2006, something like that.
Looking back, what was it that prevented you from that top spot, do you think?
I don't like to make excuses and stuff. That's not really how I work, but I used to always get injured once a year with my back. I had such a weak core that my back would just give up. So like my pelvis would slip, and then that used to always affect me in the season. It's so frustrating. Literally, that's kind of why I stopped racing, because of that, because it was getting so bad. So maybe I didn't do what I was supposed to do, and physio and strength and things and all that sort of stuff, but it was a weak area that really got me, you know.
Yeah. That's interesting. Wow. Slipped pelvis, that sounds awful.
Yeah, so like I've got a prolapsed disc, it was just weakness, so like my pelvis, like your sacroiliac joint just moves, so your right leg goes longer, and then you're like this and you can't walk, and it's just awful. just weakness. I honestly think that especially girls and stuff, just to keep the core as strong as possible, because it's riding, it's hard on your body, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It wears you down, yeah.
I wonder why that, why that was happening so much. I guess, like you say, it's weakness. But is it, and you say for girls mainly, is it something that you see more in girls?
Well,
I've never even heard of it, I'll be honest with you, so...
No. Well, I think it's... Guys are stronger, it's just in general they're just stronger, aren't they? But they have to be super, super strong to ride mega, mega fast, don't they? But I suppose girls are just not as strong and they have to work hard, like to have like a good core and strength and to do a press up. I still struggle doing press ups now, but like it's just hard, So to work on that is massive beneficial, to prevent an injury, and if you are going to crash, you might not dislocate your shoulders and stuff. Like I used to ride a XR50 Honda pit bike. It was all the rage in pit bikes. Like, we used to go and race them and stuff. And 1 week bore World Champs, I dislocated my shoulder on the pit bike, so I couldn't even race World Champs and stuff. Like just from being like not strong, I honestly think. Yeah.
At least you're honest.
Yeah, it's true. You look back, I'm like, what old and wiser now.
Totally. Who was it in the sort of like, I know you didn't know back then who was doing it, but who do you think changed that game and started training more physically, like strength wise? If anyone,
something changed at some point, didn't it? And like someone got a coach, and then I honestly wouldn't be able to put a finger on it, but I know Tracy at some point got like a coach of British Cycling or something, and she's got super fit, lost loads of weight, got so strong, and like, but then in all the French girls and French riders, and they might have been a bit step ahead. I honestly wouldn't be able to
because
tell
then
you.
It just starts with that catch up thing, doesn't it? Everyone else is like, oh, they've got one, okay, we get, and then it progresses from there, and it looks like that's what happened in downhill as well. Like someone sort of went, oh, actually, I can start training a little bit different, and then everyone else plays catch up, and then all of a sudden it's where we are now, where it's just specimens. Like it's, isn't it?
I know.
So where did you go after bike up?
I was with Halfords for years, like quite a long time, and then I think I went onto just Santa Cruz for a little bit in the UK, a little bit in there.
Was there? Why did you leave bike up? Out of interest, like what was that?
Something happened, like I think it was like the recession or something, and they just cut budgets, and the team just ended. It was just like gone. So it was a bit like, okay, what am I going to do now? So I didn't really have like a major deal after that. Just little things. I stayed with Intense, actually. I did Intense.
So that bike, sorry to keep interrupting you. So that bike that you rode, were you always on Intense? Right.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah. 1 year I rode in a Zonic.
Okay.
Which, probably they don't do bikes now. Which was actually quite a cool little bike. But then after that, always Intense, and I stayed with Intense after that for quite a while and just did like my own thing with them.
Was it hard to get a deal?
It was quite hard then, yeah. After when I lost the Halfords, because of all the money being cut and recession, the teams it was really hard to get a deal. Yeah.
So this is what, like 2008? No, ish.
Yeah, maybe 7, 8, yeah. It wasn't far after that. I kind of stopped racing full time because of my back. I just, like downhill anyway, I kind of, I had an MRI scan on my back, and the consultant said you need to take some time off. Otherwise, I was going to be like under the knife and just, So I just decided that was it, and I wanted to be able to get fit and healthy again. And I think I'd had enough, really, to be honest.
Like just burnt out a bit?
Burnt out, yeah. I was like, trying and just getting injured. So. And
did you ever like, quite a weird question, do you ever feel comfortable when you were like a downhill professional rider? Like, were you earning enough money to just have the things you needed, or was it always like, did it always feel like a bit of a grind?
Probably never earned like loads of money, but if I lived at home, I can't imagine I wouldn't be able to buy a house. I might be able to rent a house a little bit, but I never made loads of money to be able to like buy a house and stuff. So But don't get me wrong, it was still quite good,
Yeah.
especially for kind of what I was doing. But yeah, not making huge amounts of money.
What is it? So when you're in that position and you are getting let's just say top fives at World Cups, just for example, top 5 podiums every now and again, this, that, and the other. But then you see what the men are earning. Was there a bit of like, I don't know, not animosity, or I don't think that's probably the right word at all. But like, what is the vibe as a female racer when you're doing that, and you do see that, in that era, Petey, Cedric, all those guys. They were making bank.
Now,
like, let's be honest, they were doing doing good.
I guess it kind of sucks a little bit when I look back and think about it, but at the time, I still felt I probably didn't believe that I was even good enough to be doing what I was doing and stuff. So I was super happy just to be able to not actually have to work, like have a real job, and just be able to ride my bike every day and travel the world and go to races. Like I was happy, But looking back now, and even now, did you see the Paris-Roubaix road race where the women got like €500 for winning and the man got €30,000?
Really? No, I haven't seen that.
It's still happening now. Like, you should watch that race. It's
really?
Crazy.
Yeah, I will.
Like, it's crazy.
Neil, who I met this morning, brought that exact same thing up. He did mention it. He's, I don't know why. I can't even remember. It was this morning. I'm an idiot. Yeah. He did bring that up, to be fair. So, okay, I'll check that out.
I don't know how much the top girls are earning now, and I bet it's not enough. But that's just the way of the world, isn't it?
It's an interesting subject, and one that I don't personally feel qualified as a guy either. Do you know what I mean? It'd be great to have like yourself, who's come up through that era, and another girl who's maybe racing now, actually talk about it and like how it actually does work. And I think how we were talking about one person stepping up with training. It's the same as with sponsorship. It's like one, they always say, from what I understand, that like Palmer changed the game for mountain biking. He came in and he was demanding the big money. Like he brought in big sponsors, and it's the same with women's mountain biking. It's like you need that one girl to just get like that massive deal, and I feel like that brings everyone else up.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and obviously quite a deep subject that it's very difficult to get into, especially myself, because I don't know enough about it. I don't know how much women earn. Don't really know how much guys earn, to be honest with you. But it is, obviously to think that you are. It seems unjust that you're the top of the game, and yet you can't buy a house. Like it's like. You're not asking.
It is sucks, doesn't it? Really, when you look at it like that, it does suck. Yeah.
Again, when you look at what women's footballers or whatever it is earn, there's definitely some. It's definitely not the same, that's for sure. So yeah, interesting one. And again, I wish I knew more about it to be able to sort of talk about it and how it's progressed and stuff. I don't know. It seems like at the moment, and again, you probably speak to this a lot better than me, that women's mountain biking is in a good place. You've got them doing various free ride events as well for women now, and I just feel that, again, from the outside looking in, as again not a woman, but it seems to be in a better place. That they are getting on the bigger women are on the bigger teams with the men, and
yeah, it's definitely way better than it used to be. It's pretty like I have a deal with Specialized now. And the stuff that they're doing to try and promote women's mountain biking and road biking and e-biking, and it's pretty cool. Like, they definitely are trying hard, and there is way more girls getting into it now. So it is working. It's just more of a male-dominated sport, isn't it? It always will be.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I wonder if, again, like the whole social media thing sort of helps that along. If girls don't even see mountain biking when they're growing up, they just go, "Oh, it's a guy's thing. I don't do that." Whereas now they're a little bit open to it. Maybe, I don't know. Just probably sounds silly that.
They probably do, like, because the boyfriend's doing it. They're like, "Well, I'll give it a go," and the boyfriend gets him an e-bike and he rides his normal bike. We'll go and have a good time. Yeah. But it is different massively, but only for the better.
It's the exact same thing here. So, like, my girlfriend doesn't ride as such, but she loves the e-bike. Like, that way I can get a good ride in. She jumps on the e-bike and we have a really nice morning or afternoon out. So I can see how that can definitely help. get more women into the sport, and then once they've got the e-bike, maybe they get rid of that, they get a regular bike, and it sort of progresses from there. But yeah. So just to go back, when the doctor then tells you to take a bit of time off, you said you were burnt out a little bit anyway, but what did that time off look like? What did you do?
It was pretty bad, actually. I remember just like crying and thinking, what am I going to do? You know,
it's a big change, isn't it?
Like, I didn't have anything lined up, or I didn't have any job or anything. I was just like, it was a big shock, but I kind of knew that it would happen one day. It maybe happened sooner than I would like.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember it happening and crying on the way home, thinking, what am I going to do? But I literally stopped riding. I don't know, what did I do? I started doing a little bit of coaching, actually, to make some money.
Yeah.
Did my coaching qualifications. I used to do that quite a little bit, and it was quite cool. I enjoyed it. Did some events for different things and a bit of personal coaching, and did that on and off. And then I actually got better again, and then I started racing a bit of enduro racing. Like, I think it was like the era where enduro arrived.
Yeah, for sure. So we're talking like 2011, 12, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I started doing that, and I started doing some races in England, and just actually enjoying riding my bike with my mates and having a good time. And then I basically started racing enduro all the time after that, and kept riding. And I think I got stronger because I was fitter, and I probably did do some training. And but I did used to have a bad back every couple of years. It would flare up, but I just kept going and just pushed on, you know.
What did training look like, actually, when you were doing downhill? Did you do many longer days in the saddle like XC, or was it going to, riding just downhill and pushing the bloody thing back up? That's the worst.
So at one point it all changed, and I did start training. So I'd go, I think I went to like Portugal maybe for like 10 days, and just spent 10 days on the road bike with Tracy and other people, and actually doing intervals and disgusting things like that. But what a difference it makes. It's horrible, but it works. And I would travel and go and ride, just go and do downhill runs, and specifically do that full, for days on end, just to get used to riding that again. And did a year's coaching with Alan Milway.
Wow.
That was quite cool. Yeah. Got super strong doing that. That was mega. Had a good year that year, and then it kind of didn't commit to it fully though. I think my fault, just still maybe had that bit of where I'd just rather go and ride than...
Yeah. Were you just buying your own bikes at that point? Or
No, I was still sponsored for bikes and stuff. But not getting paid or anything, still just managing to go racing and stuff. But
who off? Intense?
Yeah.
That's a really cool relationship you've had with those guys. That's really cool for years.
They're mega. I do remember Jeff emailing me and stuff, and he made me I think he made me a special bike one year. That's pretty cool.
Really cool. Yeah, really, really cool that they stuck by you and helped. That's amazing. So, go on.
I'd like to do a race now on the bikes that we have now, because they're so much better. I would be on like a 26-inch wheel with a massive steep head angle, just holding on.
When you look at it, you're just like, huh? Like, what? What were we doing?
Yeah. It's mad. Bikes are so good now compared to what they were, but it was the same for everyone.
That's it. It was the same for everyone, definitely. Yeah, and you have to go through that, don't you? Of learning and product development and all that sort of stuff. You have to go through it, and it's funny though, because certain other sports don't really change that much. Like the moto stuff, it's similar really. They never really change head angles or anything like that. The bikes just get a bit lighter. But with mountain biking, look at a bike from 2010 now or 8 to then, look at it now. It's like chalk and cheese. It's totally different.
Wild. Yeah.
How do we have it so wrong?
I know. I imagine what they'll be like in 10 more years.
Yeah, I think. What do you think? It's interesting to ask that, actually. It's something that I talk about a little bit with various people. But what do you think a mountain bike will be in 10 years?
I can't imagine them being any better, but they will
Yeah.
be. And I can't imagine how good an e-bike will be, like how big the battery will be. And they will look a bit futuristic, I
You
think.
think?
Do you?
Yeah, I feel
I think
like,
so.
I hate saying it though, but I feel like every bike will just be an e-bike. You just have the option of, do you want an e or do you not? It won't make any difference to the weight.
Yeah.
It won't do. It'll literally just be, you just press it if you want to use it, and if not, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I think there'll still be the traditionalists.
Scary.
They'll still be there, but an e-bike in 10 years will look very different to what it does right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting though. I love e-bikes.
I was going to ask you, like, obviously you're a big proponent of e-bikes. And when did you first get on one? Do you remember?
So I got on one. What year are we in now? So maybe like 5 years ago.
Wow, early, yeah.
Got on one. Quite early, but not. I literally got one because I was injured and I couldn't basically walk or ride. So I got one just to ride on the road, just for my mental health, just to be able to do something. And it wasn't nothing fancy. It was a Trek actually. I think I bought it. Yeah. So I got on then, and then a couple of years down the line, I got in touch with Specialized, and then that's where I kind of got into it more. And they supported me, and I've been having e-bikes off them ever since. And they're, to me, like, they're the best. Yeah.
So where do you live now, and like why is it so important to have an e-bike? Do you think?
Well, don't get me wrong, I love riding my normal bike. I ride all bikes. I ride cross country, gravel bikes, road bikes, everything. But I did, well, going off topic, but 3 weeks ago I did my first EWS e-bike race in the Tweed Valley. And I live up in the northeast, so I'm like 2 hours from Scotland, so I go to Golfy.
Yeah. Only once though, believe it or not. Yeah.
Have you? I literally go there a lot and just do run after run, and it's a long way to the top. You could do 3 or 4 runs on your normal bike and you'd be quite tired, but you can do a lot of runs on your e-bike, and I just love it.
Sick.
I still love going down trails like that. They're still my favourite. So,
I think
I ride hamsters.
I think you have to have. You sound super snobbish when you say this, but I feel like you do have to have both, especially if you are relatively serious about mountain biking, or you are if you class yourself as a mountain biker, but you've only got an e-bike. I don't know. I don't know where I stand with that. I feel like it's something that you have as an add-on. Like, every now and again, I feel like just using the e-bike, because it's just, if you go somewhere that's big, no uplift, you just want to get to the top and not be absolutely annihilated when you get up there. E-bike all day long.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I use it for training now, because I raced this year on my normal bike. I did like Yard Rock and some other races, and I just use it for like just riding and getting the skills up, and then I ride my normal bike.
It's still a workout as well. I think people that maybe haven't ridden them as much are like, oh, it's easy. It's like, not really. Like, if you leave that thing in eco mode 90% of the time, you're still busting your balls to ride that thing. I've got one, but a lot of my friends that I ride with don't. So I've always, if I go out on it, I do ride it in eco. I'm not that guy that just buzzes off from everyone and sits at the top of a hill waiting. Like, I'll just grind up there, with them almost. So they are still, you still get a bloody good workout. I feel like for me, the cadence is just higher. So you're just working harder almost, it feels like. You still feel it, that's for sure. It's not just easy. It's not like having a throttle. Like, you're still having to pedal the thing.
Yeah. Well, the race I did a few weeks ago was the Tweed Valley EWS, and it was 14 stages in one day. So 12 of them were down, 2 of them were up. It was 40 miles, and it was over 10,000 foot of climbing. And honestly, it was brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. Yeah, all the uphill transitions to the stages were on technical muddy uphill climbs, no fire road. So 40 miles and 14 full runs. I was done in. But it was mega, but it was hard. One of the hardest races I've done in ages. So definitely, it is definitely, people think it's easy.
Yeah. Did you manage to do that all on one battery, or did you have to what?
Nah, I used 2.5 batteries. And you need 3 batteries really. So it's a big old day out.
It is a big day out, that.
It's, yeah.
Wow. Well, mine's it is. I haven't got the removable battery option on mine, so I'd have to. Yeah, I don't know how you work that out, but I'd have to swap bikes.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So
you can't really do it without
no,
changing batteries. It's impossible. No. Yeah.
Yeah, that looked fun. I've seen a few people that have done it. I know, obviously, Warner did it. He looked like he had a right good time.
I saw him when I was there. I rode
everyone saw him because they passed him.
He was like an eco because he had to conserve his battery. The heavier you are, the more battery you use, don't you? Though, so like you have to be really careful and like be sensible.
So what do you think it takes to be a good? Because this comes up a lot with other people, like a good ambassador for a brand. So you obviously ride for Specialized. What does that role look like, and what do you like? What responsibility do you take for representing Specialized?
It's a good question, that isn't it?
Thank you.
For me, I think personally, you've got to do your social media stuff. You've just got to be out there riding because it's genuinely what you love to do. So if you're out there riding your bike, people see me on an e-bike and they either hate me or love it, because if I'm whizzing past them. I like to do a little bit of racing. I don't think it's the most important thing anymore. You don't have to be a racer. But I think for me, it's like, it just gives me that little bit of something different because I still love racing and it's where I came from. If you're a YouTube vlogger, I don't really do that, and I probably never will, but you never say never. But that's pretty good for your brand, for a brand, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I do agree. I think it's again, it's such a changing landscape. It's hard to know what is the right thing and what isn't. And obviously, what brands are looking for, all brands are different. It depends, what their campaigns look like coming up and stuff like that. And I'm in a sort of similar boat, I guess, with Focus. I'm a ambassador, I guess, for Focus or whatever. So it's as long as you're representing the brand in a good way, out doing stuff. Again, I don't race. I don't not for any other reason than I just don't. I don't know. It just never comes up. I just don't. I don't have to. Yeah, I don't have to. I don't want that pressure on myself or anything like that. But I think it's an interesting one because there's so many people that feel like it's going to be the be all and end all for them is to get a bike sponsor or get help off a bike brand. And obviously, kids coming up, they see social media, they see these athletes and stuff, so they're always hunting that out. But I feel like as long as you're just a good, decent person and you just represent the brand in a good way, obviously I've got a distribution company as well, and I know what we look for in ambassadors is, that's it doesn't necessarily need to be 10 million followers on something. It can be 10 really, as long as you're doing a good job. And so I think people put a lot of influence on a lot of focus on building these social media platforms and building up your Instagram following, that it's going to, all of a sudden, you're going to get to X thousand and the world's going to open up to you. It doesn't really work like that, I don't think. Well, it doesn't work like that.
Nah. No, it's good to hear that from your point of view, I think, if you're a good person, you're just doing it because you love it and you're happy and you're smiling and you talk to people. What more do you want?
Totally. Just be out there doing your thing. And I think, people just do put too much emphasis on it, on it's going to be all and end all. And it is, I appreciate it's difficult to talk about it when you are in a position where you already have it, if that again makes sense. I'm very lucky that I do have a good deal with Focus and you've got a good deal with Specialized by the sounds of things. And so it is easier to talk about it when you've got it. And obviously there was times when I didn't and I was buying bikes and this, that and the other. But again, it's just, I feel like as well, doing something unique, as difficult as that is, trying to do unique stuff, it is hard. Don't get me wrong, it's bloody hard. But I think having a podcast for me has really helped. There's not that many mountain bike podcasts out there, so certain brands do want to be involved with that. They want to, they want to talk. They want to have the opportunity to talk to my audience, and the audience is big enough now that it is valuable to people. There was a point where it wasn't valuable, but you work hard and you build it up organically, and it will happen. But it is interesting to just constantly be looking at what it actually means to be a good ambassador and a good representative of a brand.
Yeah, for sure, I agree. I was buzzing that I could come on here and talk to you and stuff, and I've got my business as well, which is all kind of together, totally. And help me out. So
I want to get into that. So great segue. It's almost like you teed that up. So transitioning out of being a professional mountain biker into the work world, I guess, like, what did that look like? How did you? Have you had any other positions in the middle of starting your own business, or because I think the business side is just as sort of interesting to me as the career side, to be honest.
Yeah, thanks. So it was a bit of a transition. So I needed to make some money because I had to rent a house. So my coaching, I qualified as an outdoor instructor. So I used to do climbing, gill scrambling, all the things outside with kids. And it was great for a few years, and I enjoyed it, but I couldn't imagine doing it forever. So I was always thinking, what am I going to do? I always wanted to have my own business. And at the time, I was looking for insurance for myself, because if I couldn't work, I wouldn't have been able to pay my rent and stuff. So I just, two and two came together. I met the guy who I'd found my insurance with, which I took out. I liked him, had good chats with him. He said, oh, maybe you could come and do it with me. And I was like, started thinking, this could be something I could do on the side of my coaching and my outdoor instructing. And I had a good chat with him, ended up getting qualified, doing all my exams, and started doing a little bit of insurance with him, just so that I could, make a bit extra money. And then maybe a year later, 2 years later, after it started going quite well, but it was always little. It started off very, very small. I decided that it's something that I wanted to pursue, and I decided to not do as much outdoor instructing and start my own business, really. And I started very, very slowly and built up from word of mouth over years and years, and that's where it's become now. And
so how long have you been running MTB Insurance UK?
So I've only actually had the actual brand for the last couple of years, but previous to that I was doing exactly the same thing, just not under the brand of my company. It was just within a company called Bespoke, which is who I kind of work with on the side now, which is under it's called Primus, which is the biggest network provider in the whole of the UK. So what I've got is the best possible opportunity for me and all my clients. So it's a really good team, and how I've set my company up now is brilliant. It took a while to get there, but it gives me the opportunity to offer people the best cover they can have for the best kind of, not just cost, but actual choice of cover.
Yeah, totally. It's an interesting one, and obviously I was thinking about it a lot after being injured. I'm that stereotypical dude, right? I've gone out, I've got injured, I've got my own business, and I'm like, shit. I'm really lucky. I'll be very honest and transparent. I'm very lucky that my business with the distribution stuff is not to get too deep into it, but I've got business partners who will hold the fort. I've got a couple of staff members. I, from that side, was fine. I could just chill, focus on recovery. I'm also a sales agent for various brands. And how that works is a lot of it is done on forward ordering. So a lot of my Saks customers have already got orders in place for the next 6 months, which means that my income from that is guaranteed for 6 months, give or take. And then I also work for Red Bull. I do Red Bull eyewear in the UK, Red Bull Specs eyewear. So I've got 2 agents with that who work underneath me. So they were doing it. They were holding down the fort. So I was really, really lucky that I work in an industry that is quite buoyant at the moment, that, a lot of my stuff was already done. And also, it's quite funny actually. So before getting injured, I've been really, really focused for the last few years on setting my life up to a point where I don't necessarily have to answer to anybody, or I can just do my own thing, like the podcast. I can do all the fun stuff that I enjoy doing. And I got injured, and I feel like just before that, it was at that point. It was like, right, I'm good. If I wanted to take this afternoon off, cool, and just go and do it. No one's going to be pissed off. It's going to be fine. And I remember I was injured, and then I opened my laptop for the first time after about a month and a half, and there was literally nothing to do. And I was like, oh, that's kind of good, but it's really sad at the same time. And when I say nothing, I'd still been doing bits, don't get me wrong, but there was no major I need to do this. So I'm very lucky in that respect, and I just wanted to say that because I think I'm not gonna get the violin out. So I was very lucky. But in other industries, if I was in regards to having my own business, if it was a different sort of business, if I always use the window cleaner example, and I physically couldn't go out and clean windows, I'd have been screwed. Like no cover, no income coming in. I'd have been jacked. I'm not necessarily well off. So not much savings to play with. I'd be screwed. So I was thinking about it a lot more, and obviously that's how this ended up coming up, talking about it with Ollie on a podcast. And I think there'll be a lot of people out there. I know there's a lot of people out there that are in the same boat, and what we do is relatively dangerous. You might think it's not, but again, you look at my position as a prime example. I went out for a ride on my own, just chilling, nothing serious, didn't even crash riding down a hill. It was flat. And I've ended up putting myself in hospital for, a few days and then having nearly 3 months off work. So it's not that I think a lot of people might look at what they do on a bike and be like, oh, I don't ride that hard. Like, I only go out with the lads at the weekend and I'm pretty steady, but it can happen. It happens. And not only does it happens fast, and you can be messed up for a long time. So I've been thinking about it a lot more. And I know a lot of people have reached out since we did something with you, and a lot of people maybe were similar to me. You look at that insurance space and look at some of the people and the providers, and you're just like, I don't know where to start. Like, what's the next step? Like, I don't know how to start. So I feel like what you do is perfect, really, for mountain bikers. Is that you can basically say, right, I know what you do. I understand how quickly it can happen. I understand, what that you can be screwed, and that you can offer that full service of just take care of it, because that's what I wanted. I'm like, just take care of it, just tell me what I owe every month, tell me I'm okay if I get screwed. If I get broken, just tell me, that's fine. So that's basically what you do. Is that a good summary as well?
It is, exactly, really. Basically, it's a minefield for people out there, because people think insurance doesn't pay out. And it's not true, because I've done this now for 10 years, right? And I've had so many clients have to claim. Like, at the start, when I first started, I would get my first client ring up and be like, and this has happened. Right, I'm going to help you make the claim. And if you do everything right at the start and disclose everything, tell me all the information, we do the figures, and there's a few things to do, it'll be absolutely fine, and I've got full confidence it'll pay out. Some people do it online, go on supermarket or whatever.com, and they just think, but there's clauses in there. They won't even know that you're not covered for this, this, and this.
And is mountain biking quite a tough one? Because
it is massively tough, because some people think mountain biking is riding along a fire road, and it's definitely not, is it? Like, we know it's not. It's literally so different. So people that are like tradesmen, builders, got their own businesses, if they can't work, and they ride and they go to revs, or they go at the weekends, they might even do an odd race, they need certain type of cover, which will cover them for that, as well as everything else. And there's not that many out there, so I think I am really lucky, and I do love what I do, so I get to speak to mountain bikers like me. I have good chats with them, I help them a bit, they appreciate it, and it gives me a good business, and that's how it is, really. It's not just wage cover, there's so many other things I can help with, but that's the main reason people come to me.
What's I've got to ask for a horror story. You must have seen a horror story or something.
I've got good pictures. This week alone, I've had 4 calls already with 4 fractured collarbones. Just this week.
It's collarbone month, is it?
Collarbones, shoulders, one guy was racing at the mini enduro, 2 guys were just out riding at the bike park. Some guy was just out riding, literally like you, just had a bit of a funny one. And one of them's a landscape gardener, never going to be able to work. One of them's sprays cars. The other guy is a welder, and the other guy, I can't remember. But they're all just genuinely nice guys that have a job, ride the bike, and they're never going to stop riding the bike unless the wife tells them not to. And the wife says, get insurance. And that's why they ring me a lot of the time.
Oh dear. It must be cool, because it's kind of rewarding as well that you're helping these people. You're making sure they're not in financial dire straits and whatnot.
it is true. Like I've made like some of my clients like they feel like friends. Like I literally talk to them and like I've helped them a lot over years, And one guy, he's super nice guy, electrician. He is a mountain biker. This is like totally different, but he started getting a little bit poorly, just like not feeling great. He had a bit of a funny stomach, and like went on for a couple of years, and he ended up with basically ended up having his bowel out, which is super like bad. And I gave him cover at the time, which was wage cover, and also a bit of kind of like they call it critical illness cover, which is like horrible things. Like I don't want to like make it depressing, but like cancers and all that sort of stuff. But one of the definitions was like if you have your bowel removed, it's a lump sum. It's like a big payout, which could pay his mortgage off. But yeah, he ended up getting like a good 30-40 grand, for something like that, which is life changing for him. And he's just a totally nice guy that rides bikes and races and self-employed electrician. Right. So I helped him massively, and he's like a bit of a mate now.
That's really nice, and it's not always about money, is it? But at the same time, it is, because if you can't pay your bills, things quickly escalate. You don't want to be on the streets because you wanted to ride your bike at weekends and not pay for an insurance policy. So it's something that I've been thinking about a lot.
Yeah.
We need to sort it out. So reminder, let's sort that out.
I will.
But so where do you think the business is going to go for you? Like, what's your, just to talk about the business side of it, because I love this side. Like, I don't really get to talk about business too often on here. So where do you think it's going? And also just to add, I really like your attitude. I think there's a lot in that of just being a good person to people. I think it's how, without blowing my own trumpet, it's how I built Hook It. I'm not a salesman as such. I always say, like, technically, I do the sales, but I'm not a salesman. Like, I just talk to people, and if they're interested, that's great. If they're not, it's all good. We're still friends. Like, we just go for a ride or whatever. Like, and I've never, I'm a firm believer in people buy off people. People work with people, and you don't have to be, that insurance policy person that's like hassling you all the time. It's true though. You don't have to be that person, do you? And I always remember, right, sorry, slightly off topic, but we used to have this dude, right, when I was racing sort of like local motocross around here, we used to have a guy, and I always remember him. He's called Brian, and he was working for Combined Insurance, and he was the most annoying person, and everybody knew at the weekend on a Sunday morning, he was there, he was knocking on the camper van door. Have you got any, do you want to talk about insurance? And it's just like, you don't want to be that guy, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Like, you don't have to be that person. You're not a scam artist just because you work in a certain industry. You can just be a decent person trying to help people. And I think there's a lot to be said for that.
I would hate to be like that person, that hassles you and rings you. I hate that myself. So luckily, I don't think people think that of me, but, I do just want to help them, but as a business and stuff, I want to make sure I can still speak to every client. I don't want other people to have to speak to them, so as long as I can help them. I have an admin team which help me with all the admin, because there's a lot of admin involved, because it is quite very compliant. There's lots of things that has to be checked. I have to do exams and get checked every quarter just to make sure that what I'm doing is the right thing. So there is a lot behind the scenes, but as long as I can help the clients myself, especially when they need to take the cover out and claim, get all the admin done. It's grown in the last 12 months because so many more people are riding bikes. It's just like new people are getting into it, aren't they? So, and I'm really lucky that my clients are nice and they tell people, like you say, just
word of mouth's the best. Again, going back to being an ambassador and stuff, like the word of mouth is the best type of marketing, in my opinion.
It is fully. So I have to make sure I do the right thing for every client, because one bad client can spread something and it ruins everything, doesn't it? So I would never do that. So hopefully it'll just keep going as it is, and I can keep helping them. I can keep going riding my bike. I can meet some of them as well on my bike when I'm riding or racing, and just
really cool.
Have a simple life but a good life.
It's the best way. It's all we want. isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all we're after.
Yeah.
That's really
Exactly.
nice. That's good.
Yeah.
And I like that you're trying to keep it really personal. That's really cool. Like, again, that's something that I've tried to maintain with my business. That I want to speak to the customers. I don't want some random salesperson calling up. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And there's that fine balance of like growth, but also really dialing it back and being like, okay, why are we growing? Like, what's the main goal here? Like, you know, as long as I'm not really, and people probably know this about me anyway, but like, I'm not really like financially motivated that much. I'm just nice lifestyle. It's what it's all about for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar, to be honest. I don't want to be a millionaire or anything like that. I just want to be able to be healthy, ride my bike, and be able to work a bit, and that's it. Yeah, it doesn't. Everybody's very different, aren't they? But that's definitely more the way I am as well.
It's cool. It's nice. It's a good little pocket of the industry to be in as well. I feel like there's various ways to get into the bike industry. It's like you're in it, but you're like a little bit out of it, which is perfect. I feel like.
Yeah.
So are you carrying on with Specialized for a while as well? Have you got that locked in, or?
Yeah, I've got another cool. year with them, like end of 2022. So hopefully it'll carry on because I'm happy and love the bike. So it doesn't. I'm buzzing awesome. For it. Yeah.
Really cool. Really, really cool. Well, is there anything you think we've not covered?
I don't think so. No,
I don't know. Nah, it's just nice just to chat, if I'm honest with you. What about you? Yeah. What we didn't sort of go into is, I guess, like your riding now. Like, what does riding look like for you now? And where do you think, where is it going? Do you have any goals?
I think I like to write goals down, I think, like you, because then I try and stick to them and achieve them and tick them off. Some goals. Next year I want to do something a bit different. I'm going to do the Fred Whitten, which is a road event. Have you heard of that in the Lake District? Very different. Nothing to do with a mountain bike. Okay. But it's all the passes in the Lake.
You know why I've heard of it? I have heard of it. People run it as well.
Have you? It's there's something else that's called the Bob Graham. I think,
that's the one. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
We're friends though, right? Bob and they were boys, so yeah. You just got muddled up. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's
it is the Bob Graham.
I'm gonna do it was 120 mile over a lot of climbing. I'm gonna try and do that. I'm gonna do some e-bike racing, world enduro e-bike racing. I'm pretty buzzing for that. I'm gonna do the pro one next year at the Tweed Valley. Try and do that good.
Do you fancy doing some more like out of the UK racing? Is that on the agenda?
Not yet. Not yet. No. I think I'll do some trips though. Maybe riding trips. Maybe Trans-Madeira. Nice. Yeah. That looks good.
Yeah, I fancy Trans-Madeira. I'll be honest with you. Obviously, I speak to Ollie a lot, and he's a bit of a Madeira advocate. He's almost like, he's like the Madeira Tourist Board sales rep in the UK. he hustles Madeira pretty hard. So I'm no doubt just waiting to go there at the moment. So frothing for that.
Yeah, I'm just going to ride as much as I can and do some fun events.
Okay, sounds good. And also, I think one thing I definitely wanted to make sure I asked you, there's a lot of, like we talked about, girls getting into mountain biking. What do you have any like top tips for girls getting into riding? Like anything that they should really make sure that they do or focus on, or?
You have to be really strong mindset, right? And just do not care what other people think. In everything in life, but especially when you go biking. If the guys are looking at you, just do. So what? Just go and do it, because when you get home, you'll be buzzing that you've been and done it. Whatever level of biking you do, more girls should race e-bikes as well. More girls should just race in general if they can. Maybe I'll do something for Specialized, like an e-bike event or
like a ride out or something. That'd be cool.
Encourage, like a ride out and encourage and just.
It's a really good one again on the moto side. I'm trying to think of the name of it that Fox support, and it's basically like. They hire a track for the day or 2 days, and it's like come and hang out, like a women's sort of like event, I guess you'd call it. It's like 2 days, you camp there, get to meet new people. I think there's probably that little barrier with anything, not just female, like male as well. Like there's a barrier of like getting to know people and finding people in your local area to ride with and stuff. It's I have it loads of times. Like people reach out through the podcast channels and are like, "Oh, I'm from, I don't know, Bristol. Do you know anyone I can ride with?" And like, you're like, well, there's loads of people in Bristol. It's like, so I think doing more stuff like that. That's personally what I'm sort of keen on, is doing more like meetups in various cities and stuff like that, and town, or not cities, but like bike parks, and get the community aspect going. Because I think as well as being an ambassador for brands, like that's one thing that they like to see, is you actually building community around what you do. So anything like that, I think is really important, and it just helps everyone, right? Like getting more people out on bikes, meeting people can only be a good thing. So
one of my friends, Bex, does the Go On Girls. She's having a festival in June, I think, at Farmer John's. Bex. She asked me to go there, so that's something that maybe some girls could go and hang out and just ride and have fun.
They were doing it at the Dirt Factory before, weren't they? It was like go on evenings and stuff. It's really cool. Yeah, I know Bex quite well. She used to live with my my friend, actually, in the Peaks. Yeah, with James.
Yeah, she's a good mate. She's good crack. She's good fun, and you'd have a good time. So that's something like that. I might be there.
And she won Tweed Love.
She did. She did. Yeah, I was super happy for her. Insane. Yeah, I got her into riding bikes, like racing. I got her. Yeah, I met her one day at, she was doing something. She was wearing like football trainers and she was on a bike and she had no idea. I was like, come on, I'm going to meet Tracy. We're going to have a girls' weekend and go riding in Wales. Took her there. She was embarrassing, but she was fast. And we were like, what is she? Yeah, she literally, it's unbelievable how well she's done compared to then. So, she knows I dragged her along, and she was like stuffing penguins and loads of like chocolate bars in her face because she was so tired. Like we were only doing like 20 miles or something. But look at her now, it's cool.
Totally. So do you see yourself as like, a sort of ambassador for women's mountain biking, would you say?
I don't know, I'm quite shy really, but I think if you think about it, I probably am, because I've done it for so long. And
your story is incredible, honestly. The fact that it's kind of crazy that there's not more out there, and I mean that with the greatest respect. Like there's not more out there about your career and stuff. I feel like you just said, you're quite shy and whatnot. But Specialized did a really nice piece on you, which is really cool. Like the video you did with Ben, that's really good. I watched that just before.
Yeah, that was good. That was nice to get back out there, I guess, because like I haven't been on the scene properly for a while.
Yeah, is that mainly because of the business stuff, or do you just keep your head down and just keep grinding? And
I don't know, not because of business, just getting back out there on social media again, and letting people know kind of I'm still here, still riding. Still doing it.
I think the story's incredible, honestly, it really is, and I think there'll be a lot of people listening to this who will recognise the name and be like, "Oh wow, like I didn't really know much about you." And I think it's a really cool thing, that, if I'm honest with you, I think it's really cool. But at the same time, it's like it's such a cool, like inspirational story for so many, not just girls, like people in mountain biking, to see what you've achieved and what you've done, and the way that you've come up in such a way that it's quite, you've just stayed true to you, and seems like you've just done the right thing. And the fact that you got spiked off Missy Giove is insane. Like, how?
Yeah, that's quite funny. I do remember that, and I thought it'd be a good
Definitely.
one to tell you.
I always like to also ask, like, what's your career highlight so far? Like, what's the thing?
Oh gosh. Probably getting spiked.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And then crashing my
I just
down.
hope it was just a Red Bull or something. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, I'll ask her one day if I ever see her.
Yeah, I wonder where Missy Giove is now, because obviously there was a viral video of her from Vice, but she's one of those that's she's just disappeared, right? Like she's just gone. She's done a show.
She went to jail, didn't she, for a while? Yeah, pretty wild. Yeah, I don't know.
What a story.
It would be cool. It would be cool to see what you're doing, because she was wild. I remember.
Isn't it weird to think that somewhere in the world she's just doing something now? Like, you're listening to this, like, you just think somewhere Missy Giove just somewhere
doing something.
Yeah, just doing something somewhere. Wow.
Yeah, I think I'm happy that I'm just still riding and racing 30 years later. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
it's
buzzing for
incredible.
that. Yeah.
Really, really cool. Really, it sounds, especially with what you've gone through with injuries and stuff, really cool. And mountain biking's sick though, isn't it? Like, it's so sick. I similar, I guess, sort of like missed it for a while. You know, I took a bit of a break. In fact, what my issue was like starting the distribution company, and it just been so hard that I just hated bikes. I absolutely hated them. Yeah, I got
Really.
into it because I loved it, and then quickly realised like, okay, I'm stressed, and the only reason I'm stressed is because of these things, these two wheel things, and then I just wanted nothing to do with it for years. Like, you know, I had the business, was doing even doing the podcast, but not really riding that much or really enjoying it, if I'm honest with you. But it's weird because I've just gone like full circle now, and I absolutely love mountain biking again and riding in general, riding anything really. You know, started dirt jumping again recently, like really found my love for it again. But yeah, you do go through those peaks and troughs with it, because especially when with business, if it's not going well and you dial it all back to like, okay, what's making me stressed? Oh, it's bikes. Okay, I don't want anything to do with bikes. I just did other stuff. Just did like a bit of CrossFit, working out, that sort of thing. Like anything, ice hockey, just to get away from bikes. It was a weird time. Weird time.
Yeah, I've probably been through that situation and come and go, but I am like you now. I'm back into it, but at the time, you just don't want anything to do with it, do you?
No.
It's just
yeah, it's a weird thing. It was a really weird time, really, when I think about it. You know, it was going out, visiting bike shops all day, every day, and sort of talking bikes all day, coming home, working till the middle of the night, like, and just hating it. If I'm honest, like, absolutely hating it. But it's just what you got to go through, isn't it? Sometimes. But
it is. Yeah, gotta work hard.
Well, it's been awesome to sit and chat. I really appreciate you taking the time out and telling some of your story. We'll have to do it again soon. You know, let's give it a few more months or whatever. We'll do another one, bit of follow up. I think people will probably have some questions, maybe some things that we didn't get into. I don't know. You never know with these things. But honestly, thank you so much. Where can people find out more? Like, especially with the insurance stuff, if someone's listening who maybe does want to have a chat to you about it, like where should people go?
Thanks for having me. Honestly, I really appreciate it. It's like my first podcast as well, so it's pretty special. Just go on to Instagram, MTB Insurance UK, or my website, MTB Insurance UK. Yeah, you can contact me on there, my phone number, email. If you want any help, I'm happy to. So
I'll make sure all links, if you're listening right now, you can just click on the link in the description. Like the links will all be down there. So again, I don't want this to sound like a sales pitch. It's really not. Well, I wanted to talk to you anyway, but that is a bonus. I think if anyone's listening and they do want to find out more, make sure you're covered and you don't end up on the streets. Then for sure give Helen a call, and you can no doubt ask her about the podcast as well. And if you've got any questions, you no doubt be able to answer them. So amazing. All right. Thanks pleasure. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone as well for listening. Don't forget, like and subscribe, share the podcast if you enjoyed this one. Reach out, tell Helen you listened, and it's all love from me. Thank you. Peace. All right.
Cheers, Davey.
Wait there.
Cheers.